What's going on, everyone? Is another episode of Left Side Heavy, the podcast presented by Blue Wire Hustle. It's your boy, Jevin LaFave. Today, I brought on Brett Roselle once again. We talked a lot, some NHL action, some unfortunate headlines that made way into the hockey world. We talked about that. We talked about some Canucks news, some splashes that they made. And then we talked about the divisional round in the NFL. Crazy weekend. It was a ton of fun. Be sure to head to the YouTube Left Side Heavy, catch the full episode there on video, and be sure to leave a rating and review on Apple and Spotify. It really helps grow the show and get it out there. Be sure to share with friends and family, and follow the socials. Jevin.LaFave on Instagram, Jevin LaFave on Twitter, Left Side Heavy _ on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. So I hope you guys enjoy the episode. It was very fun. And here is Brett Roselle. It's episode 79 of Left Side Heavy, the podcast presented by Blue Wire Hustle. I'm your host, Jevin LaFave. And on this episode, I'm welcoming back Brett Roselle of the BCIT radio program, fellow classmate of mine. Welcome back, man.
Thanks for having me. Thrilled to be back, and got a great lineup to chat some sports today. So I'm happy to be back on the pod, man. Thanks for having me.
It is going to be a full episode, first of all. And man, what a weekend this was. Holy shit. It was a good one. Imagine someone like who hadn't watched the NFL before, and you just like the first game they watched, and it was like, hey, this Bills Chiefs game is expected to be a good one. Just watch this for a first time, and like imagine that's the ending they see, and it's just their expectations from now on.
Pretty sparkling product. I think the NFL has to be just over the moon with the product they put out on the field this weekend. Like 4 walk-offs, lots of like iconic franchises playing, some new faces. Yeah, it was like everything that the NFL wanted and more, with like finishing it with that Chiefs Bills game. I mean, that's going to be remembered for a long time, with those two quarterbacks just like pushing each other to be like even better on the next drive. That was really cool to see.
Yeah, you even talk about like the product that they put out, but they must be so excited for the future, like the ratings that they're going to be getting, especially come playoff time, because there's a very good chance that you see those quarterbacks over and over again battling 100% for the Super Bowl. And it's just got to be exciting. Like Roger Goodell, man, that guy is excited for the ratings that are going to be brought in. As long as he's commissioner, man, the league's in good hands.
Only thing better would be if they shifted the Bills to the NFC and they could play in the Super Bowl.
I know.
It's the best. Just the compete levels with those two teams. Pretty incredible to see.
Yeah, so we'll get into the NFL later because we'll end off with that. But I do want to talk about some NHL stuff because it has been a few episodes since we have done that. But yeah, we're just going to touch on some quick hitters, some big news that's come out. And what have you thought about the NHL over the past few days? Or the past few weeks?
Yeah, lots of stuff to keep track of and keep up with. Of course, COVID continues to wreak some havoc, especially with fantasy and my lineups and how my seasons have turned around for the worse. But lots of cool storylines to follow right now in the NHL as things start to heat up, right? Like we're approaching lots of trade rumors and lots of teams trying to figure out like where they are at this kind of critical point of the season. So lots to follow.
Yeah. So there's a NHL headline that came out, just like with the Canucks and stuff, and every team has been hit with COVID, but the Canucks recently, they went through the ringer with goaltending. You know, Halak was trapped in the States because he was in protocol, and then Demko was in protocol, and then Spencer Martin comes up and he's in protocol, and then our other goalie, that's the third string goalie, He gets in protocol.
Silos or something. Yeah, Silos. I can't remember. Yeah,
Yeah. And then Mikey DiPietro is forced to get thrown in. It's just, man,
it
the
is a
timing.
circus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I. It's just it's a comedy at this point. I mean, it's so shocking that they're down to the UBC recruitment level.
Yeah.
Like it just to think, just to think about that Tendy. Like, what was his name again? I can't remember his name, but 25 years old at UBC getting the call.
I
Just
know.
because I mean, it's unfathomable. I mean, every now and then there's a story like this in the NHL where like a goalie is thrust into the starting gig.
Yeah.
It's like a really cool story if he does well and succeeds. But this has just been at a critical point of the season, and you're down to looking at local university level
I know.
goaltenders is just crazy.
It's something you definitely don't want to rely on or like hope you get to that point. But yeah, the storylines that come out of those games is usually pretty unbelievable.
Totally.
Like this kid is just like doing accounting homework and then he gets a phone call. It's like, hey, this is Jim Rutherford. Do you mind like suiting up tonight as like a backup? Like what?
Oh, it's just such a cool story,
I
right?
know.
And something that he'll remember, like regardless. That's like a
Yeah.
lifelong. Like, yeah, I was called up to play for the Canucks when I was attending UBC. I mean, that's just a really cool story, and we'll see what happens. But here's hoping they can get healthy in net
Yeah.
ASAP, because I mean, this is just it's hurting playoff. It's got a lot of implications, right? The depth at the position right now is a major problem. So
Yeah. It's not even like because our depth is not bad. It's just like we had four goalies in
totally, I
protocol.
guess depth
And
in lieu of the COVID context,
yeah,
like it's not even an organizational depth problem. It's just like a circumstantial. What
and
are you gonna
timing and
do?
timing problem. It's not like everyone was going to get it. It's just that everyone got it at the exact same time. So then
Totally.
we were just like scrambling.
And you
It's
can see it in the NFL when it hits like a quarterback room or something, and all of a sudden
yeah,
someone else is starting that has next to no experience, and it's just crazy to see it. I don't, the NFL locker rooms. I feel like we have a little more like the wide receiver room, the quarterback room. It's just
yeah,
crazy. It's just the tendies. It
I
just got
know.
ravaged. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's quite unbelievable. But sticking within the Canucks organization, Bruce Boudreau hits 1,000 games coach.
That's a huge milestone.
Huge milestone. He's bounced around a few teams, Anaheim, Washington, Minnesota, and now here in Vancouver. And you see the guys that he's coached. It's Ovechkin, Backstrom, Corey
Yeah,
Perry, Getzlaff. Pretty sure he was there when like in the final years of Solani.
mm-hmm.
Man, this guy has coached absolute legends, and no wonder that he's sparked such a remarkable like resurgence from the Canucks this season because he has the experience of like coaching up some of the best players in the world, and he's kind of using that to his advantage on the young core of this Canucks group. But man, 1,000 games coach, that's quite
It's impressive, and I
yeah,
think like anytime you see a coach hit that threshold, it to me it just says that he's like adapted with the game. Because if you've
exactly.
coached that long, like Bruce has seen the hockey, like so much change has happened, right? In how the teams are constructed, how like the on ice product. So to me, it's just like he's adaptive and he's a savvy coach. And I mean, look at some of the names next to him on the list: Patty Burns, Brian Sutter, Roger Nielsen. I mean, it's iconic company. So huge
Yeah,
accomplishment for him. Here's hoping he gets it done in the playoffs to just kind of like further cement what has been a really solid coaching career.
exactly. No, I totally agree with you. If he can coach this Canucks team to the playoffs, that would be a wonderful feat. And even if he doesn't, then he's just putting his name back into the mix to be a coach for someone else down the
Yeah,
road.
he's a modern coach, right? He's
Yeah,
been around, but he's like adept at the modern game. So yeah, very cool accomplishment, and we'll see what happens. He's going to be around for like he's going to
yeah,
keep climbing this list, right?
yeah,
Like I mean, he's clearly relevant still. So he's going to be around a little bit longer. He'll finish. Who knows where he'll finish?
yeah,
You know, it'll be tough to project, but elite company.
yeah, exactly. Have you seen the mic'd up videos amongst the Canucks practices and stuff when Boudreaux's been mic'd up?
I haven't, truthfully, no.
Some of the his like his style of coaching, you can see why players like Besser and Patterson and the confidence in even Quinn Hughes and other players, you can see why they're starting to get a little pep in their step. Because one that really stood out to me was they were just doing line rushes or something, or like blue line back, red line back, far blue line back, goal line, like
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And Pedersen was like head down, like tired. And he went up to Pedersen and said, "You see how good you played last game? It's because you're the hardest working player in practice. And there's a reason as to why you're such a skilled player like you are." And he's just talking him up.
Yeah.
And you could almost see like Pedersen's body language, like he just gets up and like the confidence in him is just like there. Like you can
Yeah.
tell that it's back. And that's what good coaches do. That's why he's been able to coach 1,000 games for even
Yeah.
different organizations, is because he has he just has that trait to talk players up out of slumps and just like get to players and get personal with them so that their confidence comes back. Cause that's the one thing that, like, as a player, getting any sort of confidence from your coach helps you so much and helps your play on the ice.
Totally.
And you can totally tell that it's getting to the players on the Canucks.
Absolutely, man. I think you hit on like a lot of good points there. I agree. And that's that players coach mentality, right? Like that
Yeah.
old stoic, hard ass coach, like more of that like military driven kind of coaching style just doesn't fly anymore. And like it's wild to see even Sutter have the same kind of experience with the Flames. I
Yeah.
mean, I did not think he was going to be capable of keeping up with all the changes. And here he is, same with Bruce. It's just really impressive. Just guys that love hockey, high hockey IQ. So good on them.
No, I totally agree. I hope he can stay within this team. I think it'll help us a lot because I think he's just grown a relationship with everyone so well. But staying within the organization, Canucks made a big splash. Jim Rutherford hired, I believe, first of what he says many assistant general managers. I may pronounce his name wrong, but Emily Kasangai.
Yes.
Kasangai. Um,
Kasangwai? Yes,
yeah,
it's difficult.
it's definitely a tongue twister for sure. But forgive my pronunciation if it is wrong. But making her the first female assistant general manager in franchise history and the second in NHL history. I think this is a great hire. What are your thoughts on it?
I think it's a fantastic hire from everything that I've read, and pretty cool stories too, and just like how she got here to Vancouver, um, with the passing of her sister, and how that last conversation she had with her sister said, "Go and become the general manager of the Vancouver Canucks," and she had it on her vision board, and it came to fruition. I mean, it's a fantastic story from just like
Yeah,
the human element, and then her body of work, I think, is really going to back it up. I think it's a savvy move and on a lot of different levels. And I think Rutherford's quote says like we're looking to bring in different voices to get better. And I think that's the mentality you need to have in today's game. So I think it's a
yeah,
great hire.
yeah. Especially, I don't know if like you touched on it because my mic just completely like cut out in video and everything. Just like I couldn't hear for a few seconds, but you see a teams kind of starting to branch out into the agents and the player agents, like that role, because you see Kent Hughes in Montreal. They have this knack of communicating with players, and I think that can really help with establishing a culture within the organization that you're helping run. And I think her working with Lafreniere, um, Poulin, and even she managed to get $12 million for Antoine Roussel from Jim Benning. So she must be like unbelievable because so so I think bringing her in just can help so much, and I think it can help with like just basically making players feel like they want to come here. And I think because
Totally.
it's been established that she's going to help with like contract negotiations and all contract talks. And yeah, Rutherford said he wanted to bring in a diverse management system. And what I enjoyed most about her presser is that she said that not her, like her being a female didn't come up once in her interview and any conversations with Jim Rutherford. He was focused on the mindset, what she
Mhm.
had planned, how she can help run the team. Nothing had to do with her just being the token woman basically within an organization. And she said if she felt that way, she wouldn't have accepted the job. So
Yeah.
I just think Rutherford hit on all notes with this hire. I think she's going to be great for the organization. I think she can help a lot improving this team for the future.
I agree, and I think it's like a good story for the league, right?
Yeah.
Because her take on her experience and her process to get to this point has been extremely positive. Like she had nothing but good things to say about her treatment in the workplace and her path to get here. She was just very driven. She worked her ass off and she got her dream job. And it's a refreshing story to hear that she wasn't held up along the way. It seems
Yeah.
like she was encouraged and here she is. And I think she's going to do a great job. So it's like a really good like PR story for the league as well, because obviously we're going to get around to some other issues in hockey culture.
Yeah.
So it's a good, I think it's just a good story, and I think she's going to back it up with
Yeah.
a job really well done. We'll see, but interesting timing as trade deadline looms, and I'm just curious to see what happens. She's brought in, and that's her expertise, and
Yeah.
we'll see if there's a was a greater plan in place.
No, 100%, especially with like a few expiring contracts coming up. Maybe she can help like with any sort of negotiation or like just getting certain an understanding of trade value and all that
Totally.
sort of stuff. But
And like what
no,
players they're looking for in their contracts, right? Just that,
exactly.
that other
Yeah.
side of things. So yeah.
No, I'm excited for it. Quick note, Keith Yandle ties the Ironman streak. Uh, who did he tie? I the name lost
Oh,
me.
Dougie Jarvis. Doug
Yeah,
Jarvis.
Doug Jarvis for 964 straight games played. Just think about that.
That's crazy.
Some people don't even get to 964, and he's played that amount of games. Like to keep that streak alive for the past like 2 years with COVID being a thing, it's unbelievable. Like he
It's
hasn't missed a game in so many years.
yeah, like so many
Like
seasons. Yeah.
that's just unfathomable. 964 games. What do you think is Keith Yandle as a player?
Man, for to me, it's like his individual compete level has to be so high to still be making NHL lineups that long. Like your internal fire has to be so strong.
Yeah.
Like, and I was that cool story of when he was playing for the Panthers last year, and they were thinking about like stopping the streak and making him a healthy scratch, and the players rallied behind him,
The
and we're like,
fans,
no way,
players, hockey community was like,
no,
we will burn the
yeah,
Florida to the
like
ground if you scratch him. And then they ended up playing him.
yeah, like it's and that's some, like it's just he's got to be so driven. Like anytime you show up with that kind of consistency, it's so hard to stay healthy just in everyday life, let alone being a
I
pro
know.
hockey player. So admirable. Nothing but respect for Keith
Yeah.
Yandle. I mean, like he's not the player he once was. That's the typical career arc for
Yeah.
any aging defenseman. I remember he was definitely fantasy relevant for quite a few years there as an offensive
Yeah.
defenseman, and he's not what he once was. But nothing but respect for
Yeah.
Keith Yandle. I mean, it's super cool that he achieved this.
Yeah. I think one of the cool quotes he said is that when he was on Arizona or Phoenix at the time, and Ray Whitney came out to him and said, anytime that you get to put on a jersey that has the NHL symbol on it, it's a good day. And he said that he's kept that quote in his mind ever since that was told to him. And he's just never taken a day for granted playing in the NHL. And he's just treated every single day as the first day he's come in, every routine the same. He's just kept it as a normal day. And I think that's what's got him here.
Totally,
He's kept things simple. He's never tried to overdo it. He's just let his game do the talking. He's not going to try and win games on his own. He's just going to stick to the script. What is, as Bill Belichick says, do your job.
totally.
As long as everyone does their job, then the plan should go or the game plan should go as planned. Right. And I think that's what's really catapulted his career to the Ironman streak that it is, and how much freaking money that he's made and how many games under his belt. Like every team could use a defenseman like him. Just a veteran presence. He doesn't have to be a second pair. He can just be a third line guy, maybe on the second power play unit because he still has that sort of quarterback style in him. But yeah, I mean, like you said, any aging defenseman is going to fall off. But to
Absolutely.
make it to 964 straight games and a pandemic and the NHL, man, any injury is possible. You block a shot, you could break your ankle.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
right. It's so the fact
At
that he made it to
practice,
964 is unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think just like the variables that don't like aren't accounted for with someone like Keith is like young kids in that locker room, like that kind of work ethic,
Yeah.
being around that kind of work ethic, like that doesn't show up anywhere, but that is so important, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, he's valuable. And like any of those kind of guys that bring that kind of like day in, day out, like I think of guys like Mark Giordano and stuff like that, just day in, day out, just diligent professionals.
Yeah.
So valuable for young kids on any team.
No, I totally agree. What else we got here? Unfortunate news. Clark Gillies is a man that we lost recently. He was one of the definitions of a power forward in his day and age for the Islanders. He racked up about 700 points in just over 900 games. And for a power forward, that's like not easy to do because when
No.
he played, basically it was like all you're going to do is just fight the toughest guy and then
Yeah.
basically defend our best player. But he was able to produce at a high level. And unfortunately, we lost him to cancer at the age of 67. But what are some of your thoughts on Clark Gillies just as a player and like kind of the impact he made?
It was super cool that you had him on the list here because Clark Gillies, I know that name, and I went to YouTube and I actually searched up some old footage of Clark and some of the fights that he had.
Oh my God.
Um,
He threw
I
down.
really I needed to refresh my memory on who Clark Gillies was as a hockey player, but after watching some of his tape, I mean, some of his fights, I mean, those kinds of tough guys just aren't around
Yeah.
anymore. I mean, and he could score, like you alluded to, and he was like a adept player in other facets of the game. But he could. There was that one fight where he's laughing at the guy in his face after whooping him, and it's just the kind of dominance that the Islanders needed around that time, right? Because
Yeah.
the Flyers were so physical and just some of those fights. I mean, that culture has changed so much. I still like have a soft spot as a fan. I just like you can't help but get kind of fired up when you see some of those old fights.
Oh my
And
gosh.
Clark
Like
was just like he was right in the thick of things.
watching like Probert and Domi and just those psychopaths throw down. It's like it's oh my God. It's like how do they
It's
do
nuts,
it?
yeah.
Yeah, but no, is hockey world lost an absolute legend in
Absolutely.
Clark Ellies, and I think like deservingly so he's going to be remembered as just an absolute beauty on and off the ice and Islanders legend. I mean, he was a Hall
Huge,
of
yeah.
Famer 2002. He got his number retired in like 96, I believe, at Nassau. Like he's well respected around the league and just very unfortunate that he had to
100%.
had
Still
to
very young,
battle.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
still very young, and certainly within like Islanders fandom, fan lore, even more so, he will be a name that will just be forever revered.
Yeah.
So yeah, sad news for the hockey world for sure.
Yeah, just like a lot of people, when you think of power forwards, like that's the style you want to emulate. You want to be the tough guy defending your team, but you also don't want to just be another body that's skating up and down the ice, not doing anything. Like he was
Absolutely.
producing for the team, helping them win while also defending the best players on the team. Hey, if you touch my goalie, I'm literally going to cave your face in. He was that
Totally.
type of player while
Yep.
also being able to score 1-1. So, no, he's a yeah, one of the hockey greats and very
Every
tough
team wants
loss.
someone like that, right? Every
Exactly.
team wants their star to feel like there's someone like that on the
Yeah.
bench. Um, and obviously, yeah, there's been a lot of transitions in the league with that kind of role, but players still need that. Like stars still need that sense that someone's going to back them up, and none better than Clark Gillies.
Yeah. 100%. So I'm gonna go from unfortunate to a different sort of unfortunate, but amongst the hockey community in the ECHL, there was a happening of a racist gesture towards Jordan Subban, former Vancouver Canuck briefly, but Jacob Panetta of the Jacksonville Icemen performed basically performed a racist gesture towards of what looked like a monkey, gorilla, ape-like gesture towards Jordan Subban. And it's just very unfortunate that this is still happening after everything that's happened over even the past few years, but just in history, the fact that this is still just like a common thing and it shouldn't be happening. But I wanted to hear your take on the happenings over in the ECHL
It's
with
pretty
Jacob Panetta.
sad, and just to kind of piggyback on, we were saying it was a real positive story, with the hiring of the AGM in Vancouver. This is just one of those stories that's just there's nothing good about this.
Yeah.
It's 2022, and I think the tweet that Subban wrote was for someone like me who never experienced any adversity like that growing up playing hockey. Just it's so sad and horrible to think that he was dealing with that like from day one, right from lacing him up as a kid, dealing with that kind of stuff, and that he's still dealing with it as an adult in 2022. The frustration, the cumulative frustration, I get, and it pisses me off. And the response, like, he vowed to do better, and he'll have the opportunity to do that for sure. But I just don't love I meant something different by that gesture.
Bodybuilder. But it's like there's so many other things that you could have done that represent bodybuilder, whereas you don't do something that's very like a very uncommon gesture of a bodybuilder.
Exactly.
Like
and I don't expect him to come out and say and commit career suicide and say that he's a racist or something, but I did anticipate him or expect him to come out and say that was a racist gesture, and I understand it now, and it won't happen again. That's what, for someone like me who didn't deal with that, I want to see that response where it's not like, oh, I meant this. That's just a misdirection tactic. I think everyone, even for someone like me, I'm sick of that. Imagine someone in his position hearing that kind of stupid apology. It's like, no, that was a racist gesture. Own up to it,
Yeah. You could
That's just my take on that.
No, because I think you're hitting the nail on the head. Like you could even see if you watch the video, none of his teammates are coming in to help him.
No.
And if that's like that tells the whole story.
Yeah.
Your teammates know you fucked up.
Yeah.
But like you're trying to slide it and you're trying to push it in a different direction to have us feel like we're in the wrong.
Totally.
And I think that's pretty cowardly of him. I understand everyone makes mistakes. I get that. But this is just so unnecessary and just it's dirty. It just doesn't sit right with anyone nowadays. And I think PK Subban's tweet was perfect. I think Panetta's career, it's ruined, I think. Like I think it's done, especially when he's just an ECHLer. Like he's not gonna get sniff like another chance somewhere else. And it was just I love the response from Subban's teammates. Like a bunch of them came off of the bench and started wailing on him. Subban didn't let a couple of linesmen stop him from beating his face in. But I just wish it never happened in the first place, because now that just puts a stain on a bunch of other players in the league. And he just it was disgusting what he did, and it had me shake my head in fury seeing it. I was like, I can't believe that this is still happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if you're a parent who has a kid in hockey or anything like that, it just makes you make sure that the culture is right around your youth in hockey, right? And I think there is a motivation to change that, because like we obviously, both you and I love hockey and grew up
Yeah.
around it, and the sport offers so much good, but boy, there needs to be just a continual effort, and it starts with people making mistakes, learning from them, and admitting to their mistakes.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest sad pockmark on this story for me, is it's a shame it happened, but we need better responses so
Yeah.
that people are held accountable,
Yeah.
and I hope there's a path for a redemption story for this young man, but he's got a lot of work to do. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just
It's got a ton of work to do, especially when there's like words can always, like if a racial slur was given, that's obviously, I'm not saying it's like any better, but I'm just saying it's a lot harder to, you know, trace back to like when it
it's
actually happened.
slanderous. It's like
Yeah.
slander, on
Yeah.
the hot mic might pick it up, but
Yeah. But this was clear cut in video what he did and like how it looked so bad and who it was towards and the response that was given, that no one was defending him and everyone else on the other team was, because he could have also said something too that we couldn't have heard,
totally. And I
right?
think, like, Devin, obviously you've played the game and you've had moments where you're pissed off on the ice and you say something or you do something where after the game you're like, yeah, that was probably not my best behavior or anything. But I think it says a lot about someone where they're in that moment and that's the gesture that they decide to go with. I mean, that to
Yeah.
me is just really telling, I would just never would have thought, even in my most angry moment on the ice, never would have thought to do something like
Yeah.
that.
And it's just like, it still has me head scratching of like, how do you think you want to do bodybuilder, but you don't think of like the typical like bicep
Yeah,
flex
which way
or
to the beach,
yeah,
like
like
that's not a
something.
bodybuilder gesture.
No,
That's
no,
it's just a
it's,
bogus
yeah,
response.
it's bogus response, spot on. But I just wanted to bring light to it that like everyone should be treated like just but the love of the game, man. Like, why are you just it's just, man, it's so frustrating to see that this is still a thing.
It
And
still
like
is, and
it's
I think all
because it's gonna, it just puts a stain on the sport, and like every like colored athlete or hockey player or in any sport wants to
yeah,
play and they just see stuff like this, it's gonna restrict the growth of the game. And like
totally,
that kid just like put a stain on the sport and is going to drive people away from it, and it's going
yeah,
to make them feel not welcome. But that's not the name of it. Hockey's for everyone, and it
yeah,
is for everyone, and stuff like this shouldn't be happening. And it's just like, it's super frustrating to see.
totally. And I think
Everyone's
like,
welcome to play. Everyone
yeah,
should be loved. It's, yeah,
yeah.
it's emotional,
All
man.
we can do is talk about it and highlight what can be done differently, right?
Yeah.
And try and do things on an individual level. And I think that mentality is a lot more prevalent these days. And stuff like that is not getting by people anymore,
Yeah.
right? That's why we're here talking about it and having the response we're having, because no one's buying it anymore. And as long as that is kind of the new standard, hopefully we can create an environment where it's just not accepted. So
Yeah. No, I totally agree. But yeah, just wanted to bring light to the situation. But
sure.
we can move on from this. And yeah, everyone's loved. Play the game of hockey. It's a great game. But
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. It's
And
just
if you run into guys like Jacob Panetta, then do exactly what Jordan Subban and his teammates did and more, and everyone will be behind you on it, because
yeah, absolutely.
everyone's a family here, except guys like that.
Yeah.
Except guys like that. But are you not entertained, my guy, by the NFL?
That was a
Oh,
weekend to remember.
to remember. Matt, do you think it was the greatest football weekend
That I can remember, yes.
ever?
I typically always think like I can think of some awesome wild card weekends where just crazy stuff was happening and wild game scripts, but I can't remember a weekend where each game had my attention to that level just across the weekend, right up to the final buzzer, like it was. No, it was an amazing weekend of football.
Yeah, it was, man, just like from the beginning, like from the get-go, you see upsets, and then you see like games in the gridiron between Cincy and Tennessee, and then upsets in the snow. Started snowing in Lambeau, and then you see near comebacks again from Brady and the Bucks, and then just and oh my, like this.
Man, honestly,
Yeah,
it's like
it's
to me the biggest theme from the weekend was we're just this new changing of the guard at the elite quarterback position, right?
yeah,
We see Brady and Rogers exit, and you with question marks abound. And you got Mahomes and Allen and Burrow, and you got all these young quarterbacks who are just out here winning games that matter, and they're going to be at it for a long time. I think this weekend was just kind of like the true turning of the page, right? Where it's just like the true elites are what we saw on Sunday, right? Sunday night, those two quarterbacks. Not to say that Brady and Rogers aren't, but it's just like there's so many question marks. They're nearing the end of their careers, and these kids are going to carry this product for so many years, and it's so exciting.
yeah. It's I'm sure excited for it. We'll start with game one, Cincy and the Titans. What were your thoughts on this game, and like what were your expectations going into it, and did it live up or not quite live up to your expectations? But what did you take from this game?
I was really curious to see what the Bengals brought to the table. I mean, it's just been so long since they've been in a spot like this. And it was a fantastic game. I mean, I was very curious also to see what King Henry looked like coming back onto the field. Um,
Yeah,
it's a player that they, rely on so much for their style of play. And since his defense is really stout and really strong, and it was a great clash of two strengths. And it's just funny because we think of Cincy as these big plays with Chase, and they are, but they're equally as strong of a run team, and they are
yeah,
equally as they're content to grind it out and run the football and then hit you with those big plays.
yeah.
And it's a really nice hybrid blend that they have rolling right now in Cincinnati. And I love new faces in the
Yeah.
playoff picture. I just love it. There's something about it. It's just like the Bengals are relevant, winning a big game, and I'm all for it. I love change like that.
Yeah.
So I love it.
It's super exciting because yeah, you bring up the run game, and Joe Mixon has always been one of those running backs that even in fantasy you can relate to this. He's always the guy who would creep in like a late second round, and you're like, oh, this is so tempting to grab him, but he's
Yeah.
never lived up to it. But man, he finally breaks out this year, has an unbelievable season, top five in rushing, and consistently. It's not like he just had 523 rushing yard games and he has like 3 200-yard games and then drops off again. Like, no, he was consistent all year. And Joe Burrow, man, Joey franchise. Looks like that Jamar Chase pick was the right call.
No offensive lineman needed.
Yeah. And T. Higgins breakout year. Tyler Boyd is still like having Tyler Boyd as your number three is like, okay, like our future is in check right now. Like we're fine. We're gonna be
Yeah.
fine. And then that Hendrickson signing from the Saints, you know all about him. One
And
of the
then, yeah,
more slept on signings in the off season.
100%.
He got like 15 sacks this year.
Yeah.
And man, the Bengals are in the right place. And man, like
Yep. I agree.
Joey franchise, Joey Burr, he's got so much swagger to him.
He does. He does.
And yeah, he wears him down to his fucking kneecaps, man. Like the Bengals are in a good place right now.
I think he's got a real chip on his shoulder to get his name brought up into that same conversation of like elite young quarterbacks, because with that huge devastating injury, and he was having a good season, he's just not quite discussed on that same tier
Mm-hmm.
as some of his peers. And I think this playoff push, we'll see what happens still to come, but he's making his case that he's right among the top young quarterbacks in the league. So
Yeah.
he's playing great.
Yeah. Did you see that? I don't know if you saw that video, but it was when Joe Burrow was in LSU. He's at LSU and he was on all fours, and I'm pretty sure he got popped. And guy on Auburn came over to him and taunted him and stepped over him and ran to the sideline.
Right. I don't think I saw that. No.
And it was since this happened, in chronological order, Joe Burrow went undefeated, won the Heisman, won the national championship, went first overall, won 2 playoff games in the AFC title game. And it was
Wow.
just like a chronological order of what happened. And it was like, don't don't wait, don't poke the bear, don't
Yeah.
wake up the lion from his nap, like that kind of thing.
Don't
Yeah.
swag on Joey B.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, this guy is the absolute truth. But looking on the other side of the field, Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah.
First throw of the game picked. Last
Yeah.
throw of the game in crunch time. 20 seconds left. You can't afford risking an interception.
No.
And just the offensive play calling, like you got now that Dante Foreman's kind of starting to run wild, you got a 2-headed monster in the backfield. And he like Foreman breaks out a run because you obviously like you want to get Henry going, but you still want to like manage him because if you do make it past, you don't want to overwork his foot because his first game back, he's got plates and a rod in his foot. Like you don't want to overdo it. Now that if Foreman like breaks off a run, then like keep rolling with him. Like, and
Yep.
he breaks off, Henry breaks off a run. And then he goes to the sideline. Foreman comes in, breaks off a run. Running game's rolling. Keep it going. Tannehill drops back, throws an interception.
Yeah.
Like Vrabel should be coach of the year, yes. But things like that, just stick to what is working best in the moment. If you're running all over them,
yeah,
take advantage of it as much as you can, because if you just keep running them into the ground, do a play action, do it like throw a flat out to AJ Brown, run a fade to Julio, run a post to AJ, like drag route, anything.
Yeah.
Once you start developing the run, then play action can start coming into effect and it'll kind of keep the defense honest.
Yeah.
But like, don't go away from your strongest asset when it's hot. Like that just doesn't make sense.
And like you alluded to Trey Hendrickson earlier on, I mean, when they were conventionally dropping back to pass, it wasn't working that game.
Yeah.
It was, and Tannehill as a coach, you have to recognize he's not maybe playing his best game. That like, don't put the ball in his hands when you have the run game humming like you were just talking about. And Tannehill's had a funny career, right? Like his time in Miami was, I still don't view Ryan Tannehill as the guy I want taking the snap at that moment, you know?
Yeah.
And I think he just kind of maybe proved that. Like, and it's not to take anything away from Ryan Tannehill. He's played some really good football the last couple of years. The Titans are a really strong club, obviously, but he's just not quite the quarterback that I want making that big throw at that moment. I'd rather have seen a run play. And I think that's maybe what will hold Tennessee back, right? Because they just don't quite have, at least this year, Tannehill is not displaying that kind of clutch effort that he did last year. He didn't even throw the football that much. Just every time he did, he was absolutely on point. That's just not sustainable.
Yeah, because like you say, his career has been fun. He was kind of staying by Adam Gase in Miami, and then he goes to a new system in Tennessee, and you can see that it was just he had to break through that seal of what Adam Gase put over him.
Yeah.
And once he got to Tennessee, everyone kind of started saying like, okay, like this guy's actually good. He's like mobile when he wants to be. He's able to run for those tough yards, kind of like guys like Rodgers or Mahomes. Like he's not the scrambling king like Mahomes or Rodgers is, because their pocket awareness and everything is off the charts. But if he breaks out, he can crack out like a 25-yard gain if he needs to. But it's the inconsistencies of putting the ball in the air. Like, do you trust him if you're down 2 scores with 8 minutes left? Can he throw you back into the game?
Yeah.
And yes, some of the weapons, Julio isn't the guy he once was. I mean, AJ Brown is AJ Brown. Like he's a great receiver. Like nothing bad to say about him, but limited weapons. Jonnu Smith isn't there anymore, and he had a breakout year last year. Derrick Henry, you can't necessarily rely on running back screens all the time to work.
No, it's true.
And if, say, the running game isn't working, you have to go to the air. Can you trust Tannehill to develop a consistent pass game to either keep you in games, get you back into games? And Yeah,
think
it's
the answer is
and
no. I think
yeah,
the answer is no. I think a lot of his best stat lines over the past couple of years, when his throw volume is so low, is because of a byproduct of the offensive line and run game working so well that the throws he's making aren't incredibly challenging windows
yeah,
to get the ball into, right? Because of the game script. So I think it's just, he was not he wasn't up to that big moment,
yeah.
and we'll see what happens in Tennessee in the offseason. But yeah, it was just a bit of a failure from the quarterback position, I think, out of Tennessee on Sunday.
Yeah, I agree. Going to next game, Green Bay, San Fran. So going in, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, haven't really looked into this much, but I think a lot of people had Green Bay winning the Super Bowl. But then a lot of people were also like, San Fran isn't the best, but they've had his number. But
Mm-hmm.
everyone, including myself, I was like, this year's different. They're it's Lambeau's going to be packed.
Yeah,
It's a different ball game this year.
yeah.
Turns out it wasn't the truth. What was your reaction to Green Bay San Fran?
Oh, I mean, I love the visuals of the game, right? Two like iconic franchises playing in the snow. First and foremost, it was just I was really looking forward to it, right?
Yeah.
Anytime there's a snow playoff game, I'm just all for it because conventional wisdom kind of gets chucked out the window, and you just got to go in there and find a way to win.
Yeah.
And that's what the Niners did. Like it's the blocked punt late. I think those kind of moments in a playoff game swings it so far.
Oh,
When your
100%.
special teams delivers something like that, it's like you just have to work to lose after that, right? Because to me, when that play happened, that was just I just felt inside. I was like this is I think the Niners are going to roll from this. It's just when special teams can deliver clutch like that on the road in the snow in the playoffs. That's like the variable that makes the difference between winning and losing a tight game like that.
Yeah. But so you talk about the special teams for San Fran, but I think the biggest talking point going into this game was the special teams for Green Bay, 32nd ranked in the league, above average, if not top 10 defense in the league. They were very good this year. And even missing their top dog, Jair Alexander, who was a little bit rusty because he was just coming off the
Yep.
IR. And everyone knows about the offense. Rodgers probably one of the most efficient seasons he's had. Probably going to win MVP this year. Everyone knows about Devontae Adams. Alan
Yep.
Lazard has kind of started to figure it out. But special teams, they've caused them a lot of points this year, a
Yeah.
lot of points. And you see that blocked field goal. That was massive, obviously, in
Yep.
hindsight. And then the turning point, like you just said, that blocked punt. It's different if it's at midfield and they block a punt. You're inside your own 10.
They didn't
You
even
ha-
have the right personnel on the field.
yeah, you have to clamp down and block the shit out of those players so that you don't risk any sort of turnover. You punt that ball like even to midfield. The San Fran's offense wasn't necessarily
No,
rolling
no.
that game,
Yeah.
right?
100.
So your chances, they were up 10, up 7.
Yep.
Their special teams alone gave up as many points as their offense scored. Think about that. Their
Yeah.
special teams alone gave up points because they missed the field goal to make it 13-3, and then that blocked field goal resulted in a touchdown against.
Yeah.
And then you talk about having the right personnel. They had one less guy for the winning field goal. If the special teams coordinator or whatever for Green Bay, if he has any job next season, then the system is broken.
Yeah,
Because
it's shocking to see at the pro level,
yeah,
you know? And
it's
it's the age old thing where like you need all three phases of the game functioning, and the Packers didn't. And they haven't all season long. You're dead on. I actually don't know if I would have been able to say that they were dead last in special teams, but after that makes sense now, right?
yeah,
And that's going to be the kind of thing that if you had all season to fix that in practice
yeah.
and get reps in and fix, like, special teams can be coached up.
It's been haunting them all season.
Yeah.
You don't think
So
you'd be able to
that's a
fix it
coaching
by
failure.
playoffs? Yeah.
Yeah. That's a coaching failure for sure.
So does this how much because the chances of are Rogers career in Green Bay is done. The chances are of him leaving are like it's minus odds almost. And if not, I haven't checked them. But his tenure, Green Bay's had two Hall of Fame quarterbacks back to back within the last 30 years and only two Super Bowls to their name.
Yeah.
I know it's a team game, and I know a lot of different aspects can let down, can like change aspects, whatever. But how much does this stain Rodgers' legacy?
That's an
It's
interesting
like because
comment.
I hate talking about this, and I hate like bringing up losses towards, but like I mean, a lot of people are going to be talking about this year specifically because of the hype Green Bay had.
Yep. And I think anytime you start talking about like quarterback greats, inevitably the conversation boils down to Super Bowl wins, success. How many times did you get it done? I mean, that's why Tom Brady will be the GOAT, right? Because he's got the proof on his fingers. I think for the Packers organization and fans, it's a tough pill to swallow when you have top tier quarterback play, which most franchises are just trying to find someone
Yeah.
viable to play at the position. And you've had a huge stretch of time with really good quarterback play and not a lot of championships. That's tough. I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, it's hard to do. I know as a Saints fan, I think, how the heck do we only have one Super Bowl after all those good Drew Brees seasons, good
And
offenses?
just to quickly touch on that, and I've talked about this plenty of times. Drew Brees has had one of the greatest careers of all time, but at such unfortunate timing because he's never been the best quarterback in the league since he's been in the league, as much as I hate to say it.
Nope. Yep. I won't argue with
But
it.
every MVP season he's had, there's just been one player that's just been the slightest bit
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
And I feel for the guy because he's the most accurate passer in NFL history. Count all the checkdowns you want in the last few seasons, but you can't deny he has the most 5,000-yard seasons, and if I'm not mistaken. But just so unfortunate for Breeze. But
I
like,
think there's a lot of parallels between the two
yeah,
quarterbacks,
yeah,
right? Highly efficient, prolific Hall of Famers, won a lot of games, a lot of successful seasons, but just don't have the hardware
yeah,
to flash with the true greats. And I think like that's when I think I always relate to Breeze because I'm just such a Saints head. But like, there's so many quarterbacks with one Super Bowl ring,
yeah,
right? The list is long, and there's some
yeah.
funny names on that list.
Um,
You know,
Jim Kelly. All I'm
yeah,
saying, he doesn't have one, and he went to four straight.
you
Like,
know,
yeah,
like as soon as you start getting into the 2, 3, I mean, that's when you really start separating yourself. And I wonder if Rodgers will fall in that same category as Breeze. Amazing careers, just not enough winning of it all to
yeah.
be like remembered with the Tom Brady's and some of those and Marino and some of
Yeah.
those
This
names.
is why I think, because I think Rodgers is right now, I think he's the best quarterback we've seen. I think he's the most talented quarterback we've seen, but he'll never be the GOAT because he's never been able to win those big games.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think Mahomes is closer to being the GOAT than Rodgers is because I think Mahomes is just shown. I know it's a team sport, and I think Mahomes has been gifted a better offense in this short career than Rodgers has, like Kelsey and Hill, and it's like hard to
Mm-hmm.
deny that. But I mean, Rodgers' talent, you can't deny it. It's unbelievable. But yeah, I just think like he'll be in the top five. I think he'll be in everyone's top five, but
Yep.
he just won't be able to eclipse that GOAT status. And it's just unfortunate that his career had to end like this. I was really hoping because I have a few friends who are Green Bay Packers fans. I
Yep.
was hoping to see them win one more Super Bowl in the Aaron Rodgers era because the
Yeah.
chances are it's coming to an end. But
Yep. I know that feeling,
yeah,
man. And it's we'll see what happens. with Green Bay, I mean, he really changed the narrative of his whole like image this offseason, right? So I think that'll play a factor going forward in how he's remembered as well. And how he approaches whatever he decides to do next will be another. People will pay attention for better or for worse. He really, pulled the magnifying glass on himself. A little more of a me rhetoric than we're used to seeing from star quarterbacks. So I wonder if that I wonder how people feel about that who aren't Packer fans, right? I talk a lot to buddies of mine who are just football guys who have been turned off by Aaron Rodgers and his antics, right? So I think that might play a factor depending on how he handles his business here.
Yeah. Let's talk a bit about San Fran though, like because they didn't just like they still had to go out there and win in Lambeau. Like that's a hard feat. Lambeau's a tough place to play, especially with the conditions. Like some California kids over there in San Fran going over there and playing in the
Yeah.
cold in the full packed stadium, loud ass Lambeau field.
Yeah.
Like that's a tough feat, and especially to the number one seed and a highly projected Super Bowl winners amongst a lot of people's
Yeah.
brackets. Man, like let's talk about like utilizing Debo the way they do.
Yeah.
Sticking to their strengths in the run game,
Yeah.
not throwing the ball too deep. I know Garoppolo had kind of a stinker of a game, but so did Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like keeping passes simple, putting the ball into your playmakers' hands. Just like San Fran's game plan. How did you just like
I
watching
think
it? Like,
San Fran's like their product over the last half of the season, I had circled them heading in, being like, this is the team that's playing like the playoff brand football
yeah,
before the tournament started. Like they were in gear, right? So it didn't honestly, I was wondering how the snow would play a factor, but I was not confident, but I thought, boy, if there's a team that could roll into Lambeau and do it, it might be this Niners
yeah,
team. Debo, I mean, like I don't know. I wonder, he's just becoming something like otherworldly.
yeah.
Like, and like
It's
he's becoming like, even from a fantasy asset, just to jump there really quick, like he is becoming like,
prevalent.
it's incredible.
Yeah,
And I love watching Debo. I'm not
yeah.
even a big Niners fan because they've dealt the Saints some tough losses, but Debo is like, when he touches the ball, man, like it's just hard not to get excited watching him on the
Yeah.
field. Like I love watching him play, and they just need to keep feeding him because he is just like he'll win them football games.
Yeah, end arounds, like even in the pistol, just hand the ball off to him. He's like returning punts and kickoffs. And
Yeah.
then he can catch like a drag route and run for 60 yards, but then he can also run deep and like he's like a gadget player, but a number one receiver. Because
Yeah.
like your third or fourth receiving option, like you kind of use him as a gadget player. Like you see
Yeah.
McCole Hardman, like end arounds, and you see Callaway for the Saints, like, and then you see like Kendrick Bourne in New England. Like you just have these gadget players that can kind of like just do a bunch.
Yeah.
And he's a gadget player, but he's like your number one receiver too. Like he can
Yeah.
just do everything. And it's
I I think like him and Ayuk, and I mean Kittle's still great. I think they just have enough pieces around them to overcome Garoppolo's shortcomings.
yeah.
I think there might be enough there with a good defense. Now they go play the Rams divisional. I can't wait for that game.
Yeah.
Um,
And just to think about this, sorry to interrupt you, but San Fran was so doubted upon. Like they were one game away from being eliminated. They lose to the Rams, they're not in the playoffs.
yeah.
But then you see the matchups, like you just have to play to your opponent. You don't have to focus on the Super Bowl. It's just like, hey, who do we got this week? Shanahan has had LaFleur's number. San
Yeah.
Fran has had Green Bay's number. They
Yeah.
go into Lambeau, they edge him out. They win a field goal. Garoppolo says, F the Packers.
Yeah.
Right, all that. I don't know
Yeah.
if you caught that. But
Yeah.
also in the Cincy game, I forgot to say that. Did you hear what McPherson said?
No.
He was on the sideline warming up in the netting, kicks it, walks over to Joe Burrow, and he's like, we're going to the AFC title game. And then he goes and nails the kick.
Wow.
Yeah, but you see Robbie Gold, he gets that. So San Fran's just like edging away. They go into LA. It's going to be somewhat neutral. They're playing in California,
Very
all
neutral.
that. Shanahan has had McVay's number.
Yeah.
You look on paper and this should be
Yeah.
a wash for LA, but could we see Jimmy G back in the Super Bowl?
Oh
Could we
man.
see a potential San Fran KC rematch?
Whoa. That's crazy. Yeah, that's wild, man. And it's funny because you're like the Niners, here they are. It's so funny to think that like that comeback against the Rams that last week booted the Saints from that final
Yeah.
well. Like, and the Niners are much more well equipped for a run this year. I mean, it's evident. Like, I don't know if the Saints would have been able to emulate this kind of thing. Probably not, because the Niners are just they have that kind of that it factor right now. I do think they're going to beat the Rams. The Rams are just hanging on by like
Well,
I
they
don't.
can't. This is so weird to say, but Rams are a team that need to play from behind.
Yeah,
They
they need
need
different game script.
they need a reason to keep the
Yeah,
foot on the gas, because once they get into these
yeah,
18-point leads, then they just get away from their game
yeah,
plan, and then they let them come back before they're like, oh shit, we need to like do
totally.
what we did before. But now all the momentum's swinging the other way.
Yeah, I
Now they're
honestly,
like,
I was gonna get around. I was gonna ask you about that when we chat about the Rams because I agree.
yeah.
It's like they need.
So
They can't come out so hot. It's
yeah. Yeah, it's like they're a team that needs to play from behind. But no, San Fran is just like such an interesting team because everyone wants to count. They're going to be the underdog in every single game that they go into, but they could easily win the Super Bowl this year with how they've been playing.
yep,
So, yeah, San Fran, interesting team. Kyle Shanahan showing why he has this image and reputation that he has is because he's gone into and beat LaFleur, and he has this chance of beating McVay, which he's had history of doing.
yep,
And he's in the NFC title game with Jimmy Garoppolo, which no one saw coming.
crazy.
So
Yeah, and he might not even be their quarterback next year. You just
yeah,
don't even know. So
it's crazy. I'll talk about it later when we talk about the Bucks Rams, which we'll do now. So Rams edge out the Bucks and what we thought was the game of the year, and then
yeah,
what we thought was the game of the year. But when you saw the Bucks go down early, and Brady struggled this game. Like let's the Bucks struggled this game. Like
yeah.
let's or at least the first half. But when you saw the Bucks go down early that quick, what was going through your head? Because I didn't watch a ton of the game, like the first half, because it was my girlfriend's birthday, so we kind of just went and shopping for a bit. But when the Bucks went down early, because I was like, oh shit, like
Yeah.
this is not ideal against the Rams. But what went through your head when you saw that?
For me, it was it's just not over with Tom until it's like
So
over.
clock hit
Or the
zero.
press conference is done and the buses have left the building, right? Like it's just, but you got the sense that he was off his game. I mean, the pass rush of the Rams was in his kitchen right up.
Von Miller looked like Super Bowl MVP Von
Yeah,
Miller.
yeah, and you know, Brady's the GOAT, and there's a part of me that I'm not a Tom Brady hater. I don't claim to be that because I admire his. I really am not that person. I don't put myself in that box because I know there's a lot of people like that. But there's something about me that kind of enjoys seeing Brady's feathers get ruffled, right? Because he's the best.
Yeah.
And he typically responds the way the greats do, right? And he did it again, where he was rattled. He wasn't at his best. He's down Chris Godwin. He's down Antonio Brown, and he still found a way to almost make another like hero, like just a crazy gargantuan comeback. So my thought was it's probably going to reach the point that it did, right? Like it's just not over with Tom until it's over because he's got that like magic dust about him, right?
Yeah.
He's just like so it was I'm glad it got to that like pinnacle that it got to, because the first half was just like, whoa, the Bucks looking like they're going to get run out of their own building.
Yeah. Well, because I was following the game and I was watching on DAZN, like had it on my phone. I was like watching it. I was like holding books for my girlfriend, but I had the game on the top books. I was like watching it, and she was like explaining a book to me, and I was like, yep. She's like, you're not listening to me, and I'm like, sorry, what? But No, I saw it and I was like, man, like Brady, you got to play better. Like you're missing guys and they're getting to you.
Yeah.
And there's a helmet to helmet hit on him and his lips started bleeding. And I was like, this could be dangerous for the Rams because he could use that to his momentum. But no, he threw an interception. I'm like, I guess like it just isn't Brady's day. Like it
Yeah.
just isn't. Like I get that, but like Brady didn't play that good for like 3/4 of the game. Like he
Yep.
didn't play well. And every quarterback does you shouldn't expect a quarterback to bring it every game, but I mean in the playoffs when you're held to a high standard like Brady is, you got to play better no
Yeah.
matter the opponent. And but that's secondary for the Bucks, man. They let them down. Cooper Kupp, you can't allow him to get open on a 70-yard touchdown. I'm not talking about the final, the second last play of the game to set up the field goal. I'm talking about when he scored like a 75-yard touchdown. How are you letting the Triple Crown winner
Yeah.
find a soft spot in your defense?
Yeah. No, I
Put
agree.
two guys on him.
Yeah.
He
I think that's
just,
actually like a little highlighted note from this whole weekend too, was like defensive scheme play calls when it mattered most. And like some of the blown coverages, like that's a ridiculous blown coverage on like a
yeah,
ball out blitz. Like why?
yeah.
It just I've it just boggles my mind that the safety's playing so far up in the box on a play like that.
Yeah, so they let Cooper Kupp go for 75 yards and then they get lucky with Cam Akers fumbling on like the 2 yard line. Like they got lucky. That like defense didn't hit it out. It just slipped out. And it was
Yeah.
right before his head hit. So like if his head hit the field, then that would have been like he was down by contact.
Yeah.
So they got very lucky on that because they were on 2 yard line. If they went in, they put the game away. Like
Yeah.
they put the game away.
Yeah.
It's like 3.5 scores to like, and with still time on. So like LA still has time to like add on.
Yep.
So they got lucky there. McVay still trusts Akers, which I understand. Keep his confidence up. If you like immediately remove him from the game, then if you move on, then his confidence might be there. Unfortunately, it doesn't go as what was planned.
Yeah.
Wait, I think before that, no, Akers fumbles. And then we get the ball back. Did Tom Brady get strip sacked? No, then they. Okay, wait, no, I have my things out of order. No, Tom Brady got strip sacked, right?
Yeah.
LA gets the ball back.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
The next play, snap goes over Stafford's head.
Yeah.
Stafford's running for his life. Bucks recover. Patriots go in and score. I might have this out of order, but I don't care. And then
It doesn't matter. It was all the same like
and
sequence
then
of
Cam Akers fumbles. Bucks go in and score. Cooper Kupp fumbles.
yeah.
4 fumbles. 4 fumble recoveries, which mind you, one of them was 2 of them were basically kind of unforced. First one, Cam Akers at the goal line, basically. Like that was just a fuck up by him, and then the over the head snap.
Yeah.
But man, like Tom Brady kind of got lucky. He got lucky, but he also capitalized on their mistakes. That 50-yard bomb to Evans against Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah.
He attacked Ramsey there. He's like, I don't give a shit if you're the best cornerback in the league. My guy's one of the best 50-50 ball catchers in the league. I'm trusting my guy. Evans burns him, walking touchdown, gets it within a score. 3 plays, they had to get 70 or 80 yards. They got there in 36 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was to get it within a score. And then that's when Cam Akers fumbled. Is when Sue knocks it out with like just over a minute left. And then they drive the field. Fournette runs it in on 4th and inches.
Yeah.
A lot of people thought Tom Brady QB sneak. That's his thing.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with that, like just inches to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That game. Sorry for rambling on, but that game was just crazy.
No, it was. And I think it's just like two highlights from that is one, the Rams' confidence feels like it's just walking on eggshells right now. And that's
Yeah.
why it's like we alluded to, it's got to be a different game for them next time because don't feel, I just don't have a lot of faith in the Rams closing deals right now. So we'll see
Yeah.
what happens. And then there were two like and in the Chiefs Bills, a lot of defensive schemes late that were either too aggressive or too passive,
Yeah.
right? In the Bucks, it was too aggressive, calling a zero blitz there. And like after Arian said, no, don't question it. But then we're hearing stories that like players on the field didn't even know what the proper call is. Again, how does that happen in that moment in pro football is just baffling.
Yeah.
And then the Bills playing way too soft.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like those defensive moments. They're so key, and like
Yeah.
two blunders there, two different games. But anyway, I think that's an important highlight is those
Yeah.
defensive
Yeah.
backs.
Like how Rams have 0 timeouts. They need to get 75 yards, would you say? How do you not double, triple cover Cooper Cup?
No kidding, wide open on a seam. Like
Put 3 guys deep and keep them, like, don't let them get past midfield.
yeah,
They
I
have
don't know
0
why.
timeouts.
Yeah,
And
blitzing a defensive back. I don't know.
right, like, did you hear what? Oh no, this isn't Mahomes, but yeah, I don't know. It's something I wouldn't have called, but I know you have to head out soon, so let's talk about Chiefs Bills. Now this game was unbelievable. Now
This was
it's
the
it
icing on the cake.
started off slow. It's like it wasn't necessarily the final minutes, it was the whole entire game. But it was tracking towards the under. It was like 47.5 or 55.5 or something like that was the over under. And it was tracking towards the under because it was getting close to overtime. And then all out chaos ensues in like the final 2 minutes. Gabriel Davis, first of all, coming out party for the kid.
Yeah.
8 catches, 201 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a pair of ankles broken.
Yeah.
Yeah. What? Give me your review of the game and just like kind of what was going through your head when all of this shit was happening. Because I was basically just laughing. I was like,
Yeah.
what is happening?
I feel like it was like a Madden simulation or something.
It
Like I feel
was.
like, like it was just put on rookie mode and it was just I alluded to it at the top of the pod, but I think it was just like such a cool example of like two elite athletes just pushing each other. Like each drive, I've just never seen something quite like that.
Yeah.
Where it was just like, I'm gonna do better than you, and it's just like that's why everyone wanted the Bills to get the ball back, right? To just see it, like what would the counter punch would have been if there had been one, right? Because it just felt like every time the next quarterback got the ball, is like, no, I'm going to go out there and deliver. Like the most, like it's just so unfathomable to watch that kind of clutch performance on both sides and have this like the game script swing like that. I mean, just as a fan, that was just like I'll never forget that.
Yeah. 25 points scored in the final 2 minutes.
2 minutes. I mean, 13
you
seconds
make
left was too much time. Right?
Too much time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you hear the Kelsey Mahomes thing that happened?
After the game?
No, on the play that got him in the field goal range.
No.
So they were going up to the line of scrimmage, and Kelsey was saying, he's like, I'm probably not going to run the route that you're going to tell me to do. He's like, what? He's like, I'm just going to find open space and you find me.
Yeah.
And Mahomes is like, okay, I'll just like keep that in mind.
Yeah.
They get to the line of scrimmage. You can search up the video. You can hear Mahomes yell, do it, Kelsey, do it, do it, do it. And Mahomes was Kelsey was supposed to run like an in route, 5 yards and in, but he just ran straight and ran like a post route almost.
Yeah.
But he found like space in between the soft zone.
Yeah.
And Mahomes just like quick drop, threw it to Kelsey, and he ran like an extra 15 yards, slid down, called a timeout. Harrison Butker ties it up. The chemistry between those two and like the balls to do it
totally
is just, oh my gosh.
I think of like it's so wild that a tight end has that like feel of separation that Kelsey has. Like I think when even as you describe that, I think of like a Devontae Adams when he
Yeah.
describes his route running, and it's like all about feel and just like finding, like knowing how much space you have, like that. You can't teach that kind of
No,
stuff,
you
right?
can't.
Like, and just like the fact that, yeah, like you said, the confidence just to go out and be like, just find me, man. Like I'll find a spot in the zone, just look for me. I mean, that's just like football legend stuff,
Yeah.
right? Like that's just like amazing. I mean, I
Yeah.
love that kind of story where it's just like just two greats just like trusting each other and like getting it done.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's Rex Ryan said that he would have just rushed one guy on Mahomes and put coverage, like just coverage guys. And he's like, let him take the clock down
Totally.
looking for guys.
Totally.
Because the more guys you
Yeah.
rush, then the less guys in coverage, and he can just find a
Yeah.
quick guy, call a timeout, blah, 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 blah.
Totally.
Let him take the time down to find the guy open.
I agree.
And I'm like, that makes sense. That's
And furthermore, not only is he totally on point, but the Bills are playing this prevent defense. They've got DBs sitting back at the 20-10 yard line.
yeah.
I mean, I just don't understand that, right? Because I know you don't want to give up the play over the top. I get that. But you've left 40 yards of open field. Like, there's low hanging fruit for, like, it's a great play by Kelsey, but he's got room to operate in the middle
Yeah.
of the field, right? It's just too much time and space.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then so Bucker ties it up, and then NFL overtime. And man, oh man, has this ever raised some concerns amongst the NFL community and just the league in terms of the OT rules. Chiefs win the toss, and I think it was inevitable. Everyone knew whoever's winning the toss is winning this game.
Yeah, it felt like that. Yep.
And next thing you know, Chiefs 3 plays, they go and score. And a lot of people are talking about the rules in the NFL, like the overtime rules. And I just wanted to hear your opinion on it, on whether or not it should stay the same. Is it a scenario where it just depends on who's playing, blah, 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 blah. What are your thoughts? Would you change it? How would you change it? What are your opinions on it?
Yeah, I honestly, maybe I'm in the minority, but I actually think it's a fairly well structured format as it stands. Like I think we get lost in the like glory of one specific game like that, where both teams are just kind of scoring it well. But I feel like most games is not that easy to march down and score a touchdown right off the bat. And I do think that there's that, let's put it this way. I like that element of like cold-blooded killer where it's like, we got the ball, we scored touchdown, and we can ice this thing. I like that element, but what I don't like is how it's just it's just like a coin toss, right? Like that's what determines it. I don't know what the solution is, but it's like the format and structure, I think, is actually quite balanced and sound. But when you have a game like that where everyone is so invested and it feels like it was just a heads or tails thing rather than anything else, that's hard to overcome. But I think not every game feels like that, and we see a lot of overtimes where the possession changes hands and it was more how it was designed. But I don't know if it's necessary to go and rewrite the script, but I'd be also open-minded, more football, the better.
Yeah, no, I think each side should get a chance. I think you play out a 10-minute overtime till the end. And I think whoever's leading after that, and if it's tied there, then college rules or something.
Yep.
And then,
That's
but
interesting.
I think it should go, each team gets a chance. No matter what, touchdown scored, you get a chance to rebuttal. If you want to go for 2, you can. If it's tied after that, then next score wins, field goal, touchdown, whichever. I think it should be like that.
I like the element of having like a set overtime period, because then that element of like time and the clock comes back into it, which is such a huge part of football, right? So
yeah,
like I would be open to extending the product. I just don't think like the current system is like utterly broken. It's just when you have a circumstance like that where it's just like no one wanted to see that game end, and then it ends before like one side feels like they've had like the true counter punch. It's just a tougher pill to swallow, right? So yeah, I mean, it's like I don't hate it, but I'm also not like I also not going to sit here and say that it's perfect and that it would like there's no room for improvement, but
Yep.
It's like a balanced system as it stands for the most part.
Yeah. Fair enough. So final four, I just want to see who you got in the Super Bowl.
I am going with the Chiefs and Mahomes. So I have a small backstory, but I took Mahomes in my dynasty league like late in a rookie draft because he was going to sit on the pine for a year. And I sat him on my pine for a year, and then he came around and he's just become Pat Mahomes. So I've always just had this, and he's delivered for me so many times in fantasy football that I just believe in what he does. And I think he's just like the ultimate winner. And I think we're witnessing like the next, like you said earlier, the next GOAT is very potentially in the making right now. And I'm hedging my bets on that horse. I think that they're going to get to the Super Bowl again. And I never thought I'd be saying it, but based on the matchup alone, I don't like the Rams' chances. I love the Rams roster. I just haven't loved what I've seen from them. I don't believe in their culture right now. But they're super talented. But if I'm going to sit here and make a prediction, I'm going to say that the Niners upset the Rams. And there's going to be kind of like we've seen it in hockey where there's that Cinderella story all the way to the dance, and then the better team wins. And that's my projection for this year. Chiefs. 49ers. Chiefs, I'm going to go with the pop. Like, I just think they're that team right now. And I think they're in that pocket of time in their organization where they're going to win.
Yeah. I've got Chiefs beating the Rams.
Cool.
Because part of me doesn't want to go against the Rams because I have money invested in them in the Super Bowl. But I do think the Chiefs they're too hot to stop right now. So I think they're going to end up winning. But to fully end it off, we usually do it on this day in sports history, but we're gonna wrap up pretty soon, so we're gonna skip it this week. But one last thing from you.
Yeah, of course, no rush.
Sean Payton walks away. I wanted to hear your thoughts as a Saints guy. What's the next step for the organization?
Well, there's only rumors that he's walked away, right?
No, he's stepped away, announced the organization, press conference and everything. Sean Payton has stepped away as a Saints.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you, Jeff. The last update I read on that was that he was only contemplating his future. But there I see it right now, 1 hour ago. Payton steps down after 15 seasons with the Saints. Well, Jevin, you're catching me at an emotional moment, I guess, because honestly, I'm surprised by this. I'm disappointed by that news, truthfully. I've been a huge fan of Sean Payton. Now, you are a fan of football for many reasons, but I actually really was a fan of a coach. Not like as much, but I always loved having him leading the Saints. The offensive guru, loved his sideline presence. I think he did a lot of good things with rosters that were flawed. I think if the
Saints made the playoffs this year, then he could be in the running for coach of the year, just because that roster was hampered and he found ways to win games.
Here's what I'm disappointed, because I think the Saints have had a really strong culture since he's been there. And I felt that we could keep winning even without Breeze with Sean there. But I said to my buddies, I was like, it'll be a sad day when Sean leaves, because then it's like the true era of football that I consumed like almost every snap of has like truly come to a conclusion. So wild.
I don't know. To find out this way.
Yeah. Start like crying.
Yeah.
No, I am I'll always be a huge Sean Payton fan, and my hope is that Dennis Allen takes that job.
that's what I was telling Hayden. Like Brian Flores, or do you upgrade your? I forgot his name, but do you upgrade your DC to the head coaching spot?
Yeah,
I
I know
mean,
that
like,
I know Allen's interviewing in Chicago, but I wouldn't be surprised.
oh,
I
stick with the Saints. Don't go over to Chicago.
Yeah,
Don't do that.
and I mean, I saw just the other day that Sean Payton's coaching record was, I mean, like 152 and 89 or something as a Saints head coach. I mean, he won a ton of football,
Yeah,
and
he's a great
yeah,
coach, and he
yeah.
did nothing but win over in that organization. And
And there's this lastly, because I know it's just touch on it briefly, but I just thought he was done dirty by the league, getting that full year suspension. I know there was some foul play with the Saints and Bounty Gate, and that culture around that like year with Greg Williams and everything was like not like the best, because they were obviously like encouraging violent football, which I don't think is abnormal in the league, but they were like caught doing it. And I just, ever since he's like, and that year that he lost the full year, like the Saints, we needed him, and the roster was still not like, it's like the defense was bad that year, but the offense was good. And I just think that like it just like riled me up. I became a bigger Sean Payton guy after all that, because I was just like, the league is just looking for a story this offseason, and they're just feasting on this storyline, and they're giving him a full year boot. And like, for a coach to get that long of a suspension, I mean, I know it happened under his watch, but anyway, I just wanted to touch on that because I think like Sean Payton should be remembered for like everything other than Bounty Gate, because I feel like violent football culture is everywhere.
no, yeah, I definitely don't think what he did is right. I had to look into the story a bit more. But I think obviously it's gonna stick with him because I think that's just part of like him and like his career. Like it's not gonna escape him. But I definitely think that he's remembered for better.
I
Like
agree.
you can stick better things to his name
For sure.
than everything just reverting back to Bounty Gate. Like
Agree.
it's like Brady and Deflate Gate. Yes, it happened.
Yeah.
It's a part of him. Like, but he's also like one of the great. He's probably the greatest player to ever play the game. Like Bill Belichick and all the spy gates and stuff. And it's like he took a rookie quarterback to the playoffs. Like let's focus more on the good than the bad in people. Everybody
Yeah.
fucks up. I get it, but yeah, I mean, I completely forgot Bounty Gate happened.
Which is
So
good, because honestly, like that was Greg Williams more than anything. I think it was more of a situation where like Williams ran that defensive room, and Sean, that was a hard lesson learned. You got to be aware if you're a head coach, but I just don't think it was blown out of proportion. But anyway, disappointment. I wonder.
well,
Yeah, you're
there's
looking for Dennis Allen. I do not want to enter the coaching carousel. I was
yeah.
happy not to be doing that for a long time.
Well, there's like reports. I mean, like Brady might be done. Like
Yeah,
and
I don't
that's
know, man. I
gonna.
think these COVID seasons for guys that were like close, I think these seasons have been hard, and I think like it's wearing on that.
Yeah.
I think it's wearing on people like Peyton and Breeze, who have been grinding at this sport for so long. Maybe it's making that decision easier. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I saw this one thing though. I was on my way home. Is do you think Brady goes to San Fran? He was There's an organization he looked up to. Does he go there for a year? Say that he's put on the San Fran uniform for a year, part ways with Garoppolo, give Lance another year to develop, and
Wow.
have Brady play with them for a season? Be an interesting conversation, but
Yeah, man. There's gonna be so many like
yeah,
projections with quarterbacks this offseason. We'll have to talk about that sometime.
yeah,
But
100%.
anyway, yeah,
Brett, this was super fun. Thank you so much for coming on. Very deep
always.
conversation about an assortment of topics, but I'm super excited for the title games this weekend. Where can the people find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Brett Roselle Music. Obviously, I do have the music side as well. You can find me on my website, brettroselle.com, and Twitter at Brett Roselle. I'm on the socials. I'm out there. Search my name, and you can track me down, and hopefully find me again here on the pod with Jevin.
Yes, sir, skis. You guys know where to follow me on Instagram. at Jevon.Lefave, on Twitter at JevonLefave. Find everything for the show on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at LeftSideHeavy_. Subscribe to the YouTube Left Side Heavy, where you can catch full episodes, videos, and some clips up there as well. Subscribe, ring the bell, like, comment, interact. It's trying to get some more subscribers there. But Brett, this was very fun once again.
Love chatting sports with you, man. Anytime.
Yeah, of course. You're definitely gonna be coming back on for sure. But everyone, thank you for listening. And also Friday, kick back and relax episode with my boy Devin. We are going to be talking about just his travels and some funny stories working together and all that. So be sure to keep a lookout for Friday for another kick back and relax episode. And we'll see you then. Peace.
Peace.